This video will show you how to create the statistics that, for each of the separate days for the day of the week effects for the Facebook share returns. Here is the data file. This is the same set of data that was used in tutorial 1. It's just been simplified so that all that is being shown in this spreadsheet here are the dates and then the returns. And so you worked out these returns in tutorial 1. Now, what we want to do is to create basically a little table which shows the mean and the median and the standard deviation of these returns done separately for each of the 5 days of the week. Okay, so trading happens on Monday through Friday, so we'll have 5 days of the week that we need to work out. So the first challenge that we've got with this is to figure out which days of the week these dates are equal to. Okay. Now, luckily, we have the dates over here, and Excel knows what days correspond to those dates. So let's first of all create the days for each of those dates. So we'll just call that day. And the way that we can do that is just to, we'll express it in kind of text form so that we can read it nice and easily. So it will be equals text is the command, and we'll point it to the date, and the format that we'll record the days in will just go DDD, in other words 3-letter versions of the days, like that, and that's it. So what that does is it goes and looks at this date and figures out what day it is, and it reports that day in 3-letter format, like that. So the first trading day of 2016, which was on the 5th of January, was a Tuesday. Easy. Then to do that for all of the days through the year, we're just going to double click on that, and then you can see that it's worked out what the days were, all those trading days were right the way through. Okay, so far so good. Now we will create our little table which has the mean, median and standard deviation for each of those 5 days. So what we want is like a table where we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday down here. And let's do the mean first. Okay, so what we want is a mean of all of these returns corresponding to Monday, and then the mean corresponding to Tuesday, and so on. Alright, now there's a couple of different ways of doing this, but what I'll show you here is a built-in command in Excel which does this very simply. And that command, so remember when we're working out a mean, the command is average. So if you go equals average and then a range of cells, then it gives you the mean. Now what Excel also has is a command called average if. Okay. And what average if does is it averages over the specified range of cells, but only those which satisfy a particular condition. Alright, so we're going to set this up as follows. We're going to go, first of all for Mondays, right, so equals average if is the command, and Excel then reminds you what kind of things you need to specify. So the range is the range of cells which will specify the condition. So for range, this is the first range that we need to specify. We're going to tell it what the days are, that column that we just created of days. And we want to do Mondays, so the criteria is going to be equal to Monday. Or in fact what I'll do is I'll say equal to the content of that cell right there. That'll just make it easier to copy the formula down once we've constructed it. And then the average range is the range of the cells that we want to take the average of, which is going to be this returned column right here. So we're going to have to specify these 3 bits. So first of all, the range, which is all the range of the days. So I'm going to select there, I'm going to hold down the Shift and go Command or Control on Windows to go down to the bottom, and that's specified that range of all the days. Now the criteria, what should those days be equal to? So I'll just hit the comma. Now let's go to the criteria, and they should be equal to Monday. So we'll just put in E2. We could actually put quotes and type MON in there, but it just makes it easier if we use the cell, because then we're going to be able to copy this formula in a couple of minutes. And finally, we want the range that corresponds to the numbers that we want to average over, which would be, in this case, the returns. I'm going to go to the return, and again, holding down the Shift and the Command or the Control, and go down to the bottom, and we're done. They're the three things that need to be specified. Okay. So that's going to average the numbers in this range, but only those numbers for which the entries in this column are equal to the value in this cell. That's how that average if works. We'll close the brackets, hit enter, and there is our number right there. Now we would prefer, just as we were doing before, we would prefer to present this in kind of a decimal form, and whoops, we prefer to put this in a decimal form and also give it some decimal places. Oh, there they are. So I've made my window too small. Here are my decimal places here. Let's have 3. That's pretty good. Okay, done. For that, so that's the average of the returns for Mondays. Now, what we could do is simply grab this formula and copy it down each of these, and it will pretty much work. But we just need to modify this formula such that when we copy it down, it holds the appropriate ranges over here fixed. So what I mean by that is, if we, in fact I'll do it, let's grab this cell here and just, so I've pressed copy and now I'm going paste, so Command or Control V to paste it into this cell. And it's given us an average, and it's also given us a warning that something seems to have gone wrong, and it's picking up the fact that we have some adjacent, the range is excluding some numbers, and it's got some blanks in it as well, in fact. So notice what this has done. The range of numbers that we want to average over is C2 to C252. But when we took this cell and copied it down one place, it moved this range to C3 down to C253. Okay, we don't want that. And the same thing for the days, right? Sorry, these are the days, and the same thing for the numbers. It's moved those down to rows 3 to 253. We didn't want that to happen. Okay, we're quite happy for this E2, what was an E2 here, referring to the Monday, to become an E3, which is referring to the Tuesday. That much is fine. But we want the 3 and the 253 numbers to stay the same. Alright, so get rid of that. Let's go back to this, and we're going to edit it, and so that when we do copying, we will no longer get the numbers changing in this range. So we're going to leave the 2 without a dollar. The dollar fixes those numbers when we do the copying. We want that number to change. I'll go $1 here and $1 there. Okay? So that doesn't change the answer, but what it does mean is that when we copy this down, so when we copy this down, so I've pressed on this, I've gone copy, Command C to do the copy, and then select this range here, and then Command V or Control V to paste that formula into each of those 5 cells. Okay, so if you can do that, hit the Control or Command C, select that range, press the Control V, and you've now got the mean for each of those 5 days included there.